How is HP today in terms of the HP way? Is it still going along, or have things changed?
Why don't you take that one?
Why don't I take that one? Has the HP way changed over time? Sure. Undoubtedly it's changed over time. First of all, when Packard quit running the company, it was 40 years ago. The company was $250 million. Today it's $250 billion. So it's 1,000 times bigger. So it just per force is different. In terms of the dedication to employee ideals and contribution by individuals and the focus on excellence, I would say it's attenuated. It's certainly much harder to keep that going in a large enterprise, and it's harder to keep it going with people that didn't grow up in that culture. And the current leadership, the last decade, the last two CEOs have been outsiders that came in as opposed to insiders. So I think it's different, and probably not the HP that most of the old timers, including ourselves, would know.
And yet, if you picked up on one thing and you say part of what we talk about are the transformations that take place in the company, and if you look at the transformations, they're undergoing another major transformation right now. With the acquisition of EDS, they've gotten very much into the service business. The service business is certainly a major part of the company today, which marks another significant transformation for the HP company.
And each transformation has caused a renewal and a reaffirmation in large measure of the fundamentals that we think are there. And that's what's unusual about HP. It's renewed itself 6 times in 7 decades. And we can't find another Fortune 500 company that's done it 3 times. So it's just remarkably regenerative. And I think that traces to the ethos of the contribution from the individual.
And you think Mark Hurd is continuing it? He's a good leader for the company?
We have a leadership model that we think is really important, and it has 4 dimensions to it, and it's kind of a 2x2 matrix. And it has, are you business-led or engineering-led? And are you top-down kind of executive control or collective consciousness? As we look at the current HP and the past HP, the old HP was clearly an engineering-led collective consciousness company where things bubbled up from the bottom. They certainly moved that direction. We see the migration today as a lot more towards the top-down management-led, business-led, which has a very different style, and we think is much more challenging to try to differentiate and continue to innovate as we've seen in the past.
Okay, I have one other question. How do the two of you know each other, and how did you come about deciding to write this book?
That's a good one. So Ray was a PhD student at Stanford working with Bill Ucci. Came over when they were doing the book Theory Z to study HP. And I was probably HP's resident maverick. And so I was one of the study subjects. And we met, 33 years ago probably.
Yeah.
And then he came to work for HP about a decade after that. We were in the same group for several years. And we did some writing together for the Harvard Business Review in the early 90s. And then when the 2 books came out about HP around what we call the food fight, Perfect Enough, and
we're in the middle of filming, but this is my grandson.
Hi.
He is very proud of what's going on.
So we have lost my train of thought.
What we did was when we worked together at HP, and then Chuck is, in addition to being a superb engineer, is also one of the few engineers with a history degree, master's degree in history. And he had an orientation towards history and trying to understand what had happened and why it had happened. And so several of his colleagues at HP had been asking after him for some time to write a book about HP, to try to capture the essence of what happened within HP. And I was fortunate enough, because of our previous work together, that he invited me to come along with him on this adventure. And it's been a great adventure for the past several years to figure out how we'd actually write this in a way that would be accessible to people both inside and outside of HP.